So let's be very clear here. The situation down the U.S. southern border was dire. This was something that we could not withstand, especially when 10 to 12,000 illegal immigrants were entering the United States every single day. Well, here's the good news. It looks like Mexico is helping the United States. However, this is where some experts believe the Biden administration and Mexican officials have reached some type of deal. However, they are not revealing what this deal is and what it includes. This makes me somewhat skeptical because if the United States cannot fulfill whatever they promised Mexico, Mexico will simply reverse course and tens of thousands of illegal immigrants will enter the United States every single day. Now, I want to break down what's going on and why there's so many issues happening right now just at the U.S. southern border. But also want to explain what this means for you and I moving forward. And all I ask is one thing, takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now, let's begin. So we do have some good and some bad news. The good news is that there's less illegal immigrants entering the United States on a daily basis. That's the good news. Also, the good news is that the Biden administration and Mexican authorities have worked out some type of an agreement. That is good. But the bad news is, what is actually in this agreement? What is in it for Mexico? What is in it for other countries? Because that is exactly what the Mexican president asked for the United States to provide funding to other countries to ensure that their citizens stay in those countries. They don't enter Mexico and try to enter into the United States. So, we haven't heard if that is on the table or if that was something that was agreed to, but as of right now, it looks likely. Now, here's what we do know. President Biden admits that the U.S. southern border is not secure. He knows it's not secure. He wants additional funding. He does not want policy changes. He wants funding. He says we need more border agents. That's what we need. But here's where Republicans say, no. We do not need more border agents because more border agents would allow Democrats to simply process migrants faster and push them into the United States. So they say that is out of the question. But something big just happened. Look at this. There was a migrant caravan that was coming from Honduras. Well, it dissolved before reaching the U.S. border. This is according to Guatemalan officials. Okay? We do not know how many people were included into this, but by the looks of a few pictures, it looks like there were probably over 500, maybe 1,000 people that were here, that were trying to enter into the United States. But it quickly dissolved. It just fell apart. But it had a little bit to do with what Mexico, I guess, promised the United States, because they are starting to do more. But here's what I can tell you. According to recent reports, the Biden administration does not want to pass a border security bill. And there's been multiple reports on this. Many people have actually given statements that they don't want to pass a border security bill because they know that Democrats will not get what they want. It will be a Republican bill, which will look like a Republican win, which would then push more people to vote for Republicans in the upcoming election. Again, all this stuff that we're facing right now, it's going to come down to we are in an election year. The election is going to matter. Now, they say even though a border security bill is tied to funding for Ukraine, that doesn't really matter because the Biden administration is being patient. They say because they can't afford to accept that Republicans were right all along. Now, there was not an exact, there wasn't a person behind this, but that is what the common consensus was, is that we cannot agree or we can't pass a bill that makes it look like Republicans were right all along when it came to the border crisis. Okay, so instead of just saying that, I was wrong, coming from President Biden or the Biden administration, they can't just come out and say, I was wrong. My policies didn't work. I should have went with what Republicans had done. He can't do that because, again, we're in an election year. If he comes out and says that, his voters are going to just bash him. So he can't do it. But also, what we continue to hear from President Biden is if the American people do not provide more funding to Ukraine, then the American people will be at war with Russia very soon. So even though the Biden administration does not want to tie border security to funding to Ukraine, President Biden and the Biden administration continue to threaten and warn the American people, you are about to go to war. You will be going to war very soon with Russia if you do not get your representatives to pass legislation for additional funding for Ukraine. Interesting. Now, here's what is happening right now, though. Again, all these different talks on the border, all these different talks on tying the border policies to Ukraine, to Taiwan, to Israel. Here's what's going on. The Biden administration understands that there has to be something done for the U.S. southern border. But as far as, how far do they go? What can they do? Well, this is where they're asking Mexico for some additional help. Here's what's happening. Mexican officials are clearing border camps as the United States pressure mounts to limit migrant crossings. The Mexican officials are doing the work. They're clearing encampments near the southern border. They don't want people staying, within a few hundred feet of the border. They're trying to push people miles away. So then they have more chances to try to slow the amount of illegal crossings into the United States. But that's not all. According to a recent report, we found out that Mexican officials are actually ramping up efforts and rounding up immigrants in Mexico, putting them on buses, sticking them on planes, and sending them back down to Mexico's southern border. And from there, they're telling them, you need to wait here or you can go back to your home country. You can wait here. This is as far as you go. You wait here or go back to your home country. And it's been working. They're also keeping them fed. There's places for them to stay. Right? There's things that they can eat and drink, and there's bathrooms. So some people are just staying in Mexico, in southern Mexico, and it's working. They're also putting up road checks in Mexico, and this is slowing down migrants coming into the United States because now they're hitting these road checks. They're slowing them down. They're asking them questions. They're giving them directions to different places, which is not up to into the United States. They're sending them to different places in Mexico. Interesting. But again, Mexico is also clearing up these encampments. So, what we see moving forward, we'll find out. So, all I can tell you right now is the U.S.-Mexico immigration coordination is producing results, according to an official. But that's exactly what we're seeing. What we've seen over the past few weeks, really, because initially we saw border encounters, illegal encounters, back in the first week of January. We were seeing they were down, because in December we were seeing between 12 and really 10 to probably 12,000 people per day entering into the United States. Well, in the first week of January, second week of January, and now we're seeing between 4,000 to 5,000 illegal encounters per day. Still, that number is very high, but that does show that it's working. That does show that we have slowed things down. But here's the other issue. One of the things that many people have been bringing up is there's a good chance people aren't coming into the United States because of this cold front that we are experiencing, that we are kind of just getting out of. There's many places in the United States that were in negative temperatures. So it was very cold. So that was likely one of the reasons why many people were not coming into the United States. But it's almost over. Pretty much out of this cold front, which means this increase of migrants coming into the United States, this may ramp up. Now, here's what we do know, though. This could either be good or bad news. What's happening between the United States and Mexico could be a positive thing, or it could turn into a major disaster. Here's why. They say if Mexico is doing all this stuff right now without a concrete bill or something that is showing that Mexico was asked to do this, and this is what the United States was going to give them. Okay? If Mexico is doing all this, there has to be something waiting for them in the future. What did President Biden and the Biden administration promise Mexico in order for Mexico to do more and slow down migrants coming into the United States? We don't know. We're pretty sure there's a deal. We don't know what it includes. It's a private backroom deal. Now, here's the problem. What if it requires Congress to jump in? What if Congress has to, put up more money for, Guatemala, for Venezuela? What if they have to act and do something to provide more funding to Ukraine or to Mexico? What if the Biden administration promised they were going to do all that they can to give 10 million illegal immigrants here in the United States a work permit? What if they did all that? And what if Mexico then realized that the United States can't pass that? We don't have the ability to pass it. We don't have the funding. We don't have enough votes in the House or the Senate to get those things passed. Well, if that happens, Mexico could simply reverse course and let everybody in. Say, oh, the United States is open. Come on in. They can start busing people from southern Mexico to northern Mexico and get people into the United States even faster, which would get them out of Mexico's hair. So that's the problem, is that we do not know what was in this secret deal. But the concern is that the United States may not be able to fulfill our end of that deal. So that's where we're at this time. Again, it's a scary situation to be in. The good news is right now it's working, but the bad news is, what did we promise? And what will this cost us in the future? So, as soon as we know more, I promise I'll fill you in on all the latest news and updates, but that is what we know as of today. So again, thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.